Well, it's a beautiful day here in Toronto, and I am in the 2020 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack manual transmission. And in this review, let me tell you why you want one. So the Dodge Challenger, as we know, has been with us for a very long time. This car, of course, came out in 2008 and was facelifted in 2015. And since then, it's pretty much just been a buffet of Hellcats, Scat Packs, and other special editions, keeping this car alive and keeping us interested in it. And frankly, we still like it. It's still a good car. The base Scat Pack starts at around $50,000 Canadian. However, as you see this one, you're looking at $70,000. And that's a lot of money for a muscle car. You have to really want it. Now, the Scat Pack that we are driving right now has the $8,000 wide body package. That includes big 305 section tires, front and back, big fender flares, bigger brakes, and basically it just gives this car the look it always deserved. Now, the wide body can be spec'd on the Scat Pack and any of the Hellcats. So basically anything Scat Packing up could have the wide body if you choose. And also, conversely, you can get a 800 horsepower red-eye Hellcat in the narrow body configuration, which sounds like absolute death. This wide body package, cool as it is probably a little bit overkill for something like the Scat Pack. It does make a very stout 485 horsepower, but that's a couple hundred short of a Hellcat, and frankly, you have to drive this car pretty belligerently for traction to be a real issue, and I don't know if that many people are. Especially if you're talking about a traction prepared surface like a drag strip, this is way more than enough grip for 485 horsepower. That said, it's still the one I want. Now let's talk about the other cool option on this Challenger, this 6-speed Tremec 6060 manual transmission. I think this is probably the largest vehicle you can buy with a manual that is not a truck. This is a huge car, and there's a certain joy of piloting a huge, very powerful car with a manual. It's so much fun. I've driven a lot of different versions of the Challengers. I would honestly prefer the stick in a Scat Pack, and I'll be a wimp. I would prefer an automatic in a Hellcat, but with this much power, the stick is very usable, and with a manual Hellcat, I always felt like I was the slowest part of the equation, like the engine was just waiting on me. But with the Scat Pack, I feel like there's enough time to actually make my shifts and feel like I'm a part of the car. Inside, Chrysler's Uconnect, one of our favorite infotainment systems. It's the same as you get in a Grand Cherokee or a Ram. It's just as good here. We really like this system. It has Apple CarPlay integration. It's just an all-around good system. It's one of my favorites, and including the redundant back of the steering wheel controls, a lifesaver for changing the volume or the radio station, whatever you want. Also, Dodge SRT pages, which include some very cool functions you won't find on pretty much any other car. I like the real carbon fiber trim, although it's a bit pricey, and I like the heated and vented fake Napa leather seats. These seats, by the way, are very, very well shaped. They managed to pull off the combo trick of being very comfortable for long drives, but also very supportive for spirited driving. These are really, really good seats, some of the best in the industry as far as I'm concerned. I also love how fun this car is. Look at the little bee logo on the seats. There's little bees all over the car. It's called a Scat Pack. And also look at this color. Cars just used to be this color. This is a $245 option called F8 Green Metallic, and it's worth it. It's just so retro and cool, and it looks nice without being eye-searing like a lime green or a yellow. Dodge has some of the best colors around right now. This really is an old school muscle car. It's big, it's comfy, it doesn't rev, it has a huge trunk, it doesn't try to corner. And it really comes down to what you want from your 2020 muscle car. If you want it to look and feel and drive like those 1970s muscle cars we all love, this is going to be the nostalgia trip. But if you're a performance-minded guy who's really into 0 to 60 times, lateral acceleration, the occasional track day, maybe even autocross, the Camaro and Mustang are much better all-round cars. The Challenger personally is my favorite because I lean more towards the old school. I really like it. Remember I said this was a fun car? Yeah, well, what other car would offer you line lock? For those not versed in the lingo, line lock means when you press the brakes, only the front ones work, basically so it will hold you in place while you rip a gnarly burnout. That is fun. The other thing it has is very easy and very accessible launch control, which is really cool. So basically you set your RPM and floor the accelerator and it will hold it at, let's say, 2,000 RPM to, I think it goes to 3,500 or so. These are just some of the things that are included in the SRT pages that I think show that Dodge is focusing on fun with this car. They want it to be an experience. And let's talk about this engine. At 6.4 liters, it's one of the largest naturally aspirated engines around. In fact, it's one of the largest engines you can buy right now. It only revs to about 6,000 RPM. It's just a big, torquey engine that likes to live in the mid-range. It basically drives around like a Chrysler 383. I love it. But you know what? Perhaps I sold the Challenger's handling a little bit short. It's not as bad as you might think. In fact, with the wide body package, it's pretty confidence inspiring. You can really throw this thing into on-ramps and stuff, and there's just a lot of grip to be had. What there just isn't a lot of is anything resembling road feel or steering feel. There's just nothing. And this car is completely numb to drive, but it does allow you to throw it in the turns and have a good time doing so. Look at this. This thing is 4,400 pounds. Also, because it's such a big and heavy car, when you do throw it around, the tail comes out gradually. It lets you know everything that's happened. It doesn't snap around like some other high-performance cars. But in the end, the Challenger isn't a car that appeals to the logical side of your brain. It's a car that you want, not a car that you need. And trust me, you want this one, because this car is a lot of fun. For Driving.ca, I'm Clayton Seams, and for more muscle car reviews and information, don't forget to check us out online at Driving.ca and follow us on social media on Instagram and Twitter.